Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another one of our weekly Bofuri discussion videos, and today we're here to talk all about episode 7, but before we do that, I do as always want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter. At Bubbalubber, at Matt87Eagle, at Roman Mwangi3, at Dragon Kid TV, and at Sirius9752. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video, you guys, and if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Bofuri video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. So, getting into this week's video, there's really two things to talk about this week. The first one we gotta talk about is the show trying to flesh out the guild a little bit more, trying to flesh out Mapletree. And then the second half of the episode is essentially the Benevolent Knight quest arc, I guess, that last half an episode. But before we get into the whole Benevolent Knight thing, my goodness, I cannot words today. Before we get into that, I think we should start by talking about how the show is attempting to flesh out the rest of the guild, since we already have a firm grip on who Sally and Maple are as characters. We even know who Syrup is as a character. Like, we know these characters pretty well at this point. But Mapletree has a surplus of characters at this point. The guild is actually pretty extensive given like the short amount of time that we've had. We've only really known this group for like, this is episode 7 now. We've really only known the group for like maybe like 1/3 of that. We've known them briefly. They have like episodes where they appear in, but like they were kind of infrequent until very recently. So the show is doing its best to now try to flesh out the other members of Mapletree. In particular, I think this episode shines a light mostly on Mai and Yui. We do get a little bit of shine for characters like Kuromu. In fact, I'd say he gets the second most, and that's immediately followed by Kanade, who gets like the third most attention. There's some other, like is there too, and like Kasumi's there too, but they don't really get as much shine. Sally doesn't really get a whole lot to do this week either. It's mostly about Mai and Yui, and then again followed by Kuromu, followed by Kanade. Let's go ahead and start actually with Mai and Yui. Now, I was initially planning to do my character analysis, or character design analysis, I suppose, on Mai and Yui. But again, I'm gonna save that. The only reason why is because in the OP, we see them with a totally different, well, I shouldn't say totally different, with a fairly different armor set. And I'd rather wait till we get like their quote-unquote final design before I start analyzing things. For the most part, though, I don't think there's much of a difference in the character like colors. I think the colors for the designs are pretty similar. I think the only difference is there's more silver armor. But again, I'd rather just save it for just prior to the guilds, like going into, like once we get a new design for Mai and Yui, that's when I'll start kind of going into Mapletree's different character designs and kind of trying to dissect what we know about them. Now, before anybody says anything, I'm aware that Kuromu got his own like character update with a new set of armor. I was gonna go into that, but literally like I only really thought about the fact that I hadn't really researched anything as I went to record this, and I was like, oh, my bad, Kuromu. I will do that the instant that Mai and Yui get their outfit change. I'll go into everybody's outfit change. So until we get the final designs for everybody, I'm not really going to go into anybody that I haven't already gone into. I already talked about Sally's design and what I think that says about her, but I'll save everybody else's for when they get their final quote-unquote final character designs, in what I would imagine to be just prior to the end of the season, because I feel like they're going to get like that armor set that we see in the OP probably by the end of this particular arc, just leading into the guild competition. That said, though, I do think that we can kind of assess a little bit about how Mai and Yui view the rest of the guild, and that is to say that they definitely are taking up the sort of younger sibling type role in Mapletree. They especially form a really, really tight-knit bond with Maple, which I find to be kind of interesting, because Maple, even though she's very OP, she has been shown to be sort of like, if we were going to look at Mapletree as a family, Maple would have been sort of like the youngest, or she's still trying to learn the ropes. She's not super clear on how everything works, but she's trying her best. But now, with the introduction of Mai and Yui, Maple is actually allowed to be the older sibling in this case and sort of show these kids the ropes and teach them how to level up fast, how to utilize their kind of quirky character build. And even though like she's not about attacking, she's about defense, like it's still a sort of similar idea, sort of a min-maxed character, and she's showing them how to utilize these characters properly. And it's fun to watch them sort of emulate Maple in a weird way where they actually start to become sort of monsters themselves. And I love that Iz gives them those two dual hammers. And the fact that like they gain the same weird skills that Maple has, like not to a T, right? It's not like they get cover or anything like that. But they get like their own weird, quirky skills that like would make them stupidly OP and does in fact make them really OP. And again, Kuromu throughout the episode, and I'll get into my opinions on him, but he kind of keeps pointing out like, that's really OP. Like he constantly feels the need to be like, that is very OP. The show is very much aware like they are making these characters stupidly strong. But there's a reason for that, because half of the fun is look at these OP characters lay waste to the surroundings. And if you're not into that, then the show is obviously probably not going to be going to be up your alley. But for me, I kind of just like these characters and enjoy seeing them sort of romp through this MMO world. So I'm totally fine with that. And those hammers look friggin' dope. I love that they dual wield two gigantic ass hammers, especially when you keep in mind that they're like two like younger, smaller characters. It just makes it really, really funny. As for Kuromu, I honestly felt like he was sort of the underdog. He is absolutely the underdog in Maple Tree. He definitely has like the maturity that the other ones don't have. Like the other characters don't really have the same level of maturity as Kuromu does or is. But that's what I'd say those two bring. Like is a blacksmith, so she obviously has that on top of just this sort of level of maturity. She's played many games. She's aware of how the mechanics work, aware of how MMOs work. She's learned. She's had a lot of experience in this sort of environment. And the same goes for Kuromu. Kuromu is bringing to the table a sort of like understanding of how a shielder is supposed to work. And he has like a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. I have a feeling like what he's going to be bringing to the table is how other players would react, right? He has sort of like the insider knowledge on how the other players are going to react to characters like Maple, how they would counter Maple, yada yada. I feel like that's what he's going to bring, especially when we see him interacting with Syrup, which was the friggin' most adorable shit. Like seeing Syrup, like him say like, I'm really surprised that Maple is so trusting to give me you, like talking to Syrup, saying like she gave me the ring, she is letting me hang out with you, like I'm supposed to help you level up. That's a lot of trust. I could very easily just run away from the guild and keep you. And of course Syrup's like, what the hell? And he's like, no. I didn't mean that literally. I'm just hypothetically, like I'm saying that I could do that. And I don't know if that's very brave of Maple or if that's very foolish. And I don't know, I kind of read that both, like, in a couple different ways. I read that as Kuromu being, cautious and being aware that Maple is maybe a little too trusting. But at the same time, I also read it as, like, that's just how much Maple trusts that Kuromu's a good dude. And Maple has typically been shown to be a half-decent reader of character. And I feel like with a character like Kuromu, he's a good dude just by, like, one conversation with him. So she feels comfortable trusting Syrup with Kuromu. And it was nice. It was, again, another pairing that I just wouldn't have expected. I wouldn't have expected Syrup to team up with Kuromu because, it's just, that's Maple's pet. So it was just kind of surprising. But it worked out pretty well. And like I said, my boy got a slick-looking new outfit. I really dig it. As for Kanade, I want to point out that Kanade does have, does get another one of those cube things. It fuses with another cube. I believe it's called Akashic Records. Listen, I like Kanade. I need, again, much like I said with Mai and Yui, I'm going to need to wait till they get their outfit from the OP before I go and do a proper analysis, but I just don't know enough about Kanade yet. They seem like they're going to eventually be the brains of the operation, but other than that, I don't have a whole lot to say. And if I'm totally honest, I think it's just because their skills, or rather, I guess, like, their build confuses me, and that's not the show's problem. Like, that's not a problem on the show. It feels like the show properly explained it to a point where, like, if you play like a lot of games and you're really in depth with it, you'll have a better understanding of how Kanade is playing. But for me, it kind of went a little over my head. Like, as much as I like MMOs, I'm more of like an action RPG kind of guy. So some stuff went a little over my head, and I wasn't like super aware of what was going on, but I was like, cool, good, right on. I still need to see more from Kanade before I have a solid opinion. I'm running a little bit short on time, so instead of devoting a whole ton of time to this, I'll instead just talk a little bit about the whole Benevolent Knight quest. Essentially, this is showing off just how OP Maple and Syrup are, to the point where not only are they able to outdo other players, but even just playing the game like you normally would, doing quest lines and running around, busy work for NPCs, it's broken. Like, NWO is not prepared to handle a character like Maple. And I loved the sort of added touch of having the characters say and do things, like the NPCs, say and do things that make no sense given how Maple got from point A to point B. Like when her, Syrup, and the mother NPC are flying over this forest full of baddies. When they get the thing, they fly back, and as they're flying back, the mom is like, "Oh, I'm winded. I thank you so much, kind knight, for taking us through that," and blah blah blah. And Maple's like, What the hell? What is going on? She doesn't, and then she slowly realizes that this NPC was supposed to have really gone through hell, but because Syrup can friggin' fly, they just bypassed all of it. It's sort of like playing a Kirby game and you just fly over everything. Like, that's kind of what it was. It was really, really funny, and it basically leads up to Maple getting this brand new ability, this like second form. Like, this isn't even her final form, as the characters in the forum were talking about. Like, of course she has a second form, and I think one of the other posters was just like, she's gonna have a third and fourth, you watch. And basically Maple becomes an archangel because of this ridiculous broken quest line. And I can't even be mad because the fact that the quest line was so broken, not because it's like coded poorly, but because Maple is too strong and already had most of the shit that she needed for this quest line that she stumbled across, and ends up getting this dope ass power up where she becomes essentially an angel. We get Archangel Maple, which is not a phrase I was prepared to say. We see it in the OP, right? But when we see Maple in the OP, she's wearing her, like, the black outfit. Now she has this all-white outfit made by Iz, and it looks dope. Honestly, and I know this might be blasphemy, I kind of hope she keeps the white outfit. It looks so dope. Like, Maple looks awesome. And I love, that even Chromu says, like, again, this is really OP, because essentially if she casts, what is it called here? I wrote it down. Loving Sacrifice. If she casts Loving Sacrifice, all those in her party that stay within this circle are basically invincible. They have the same vitality as Maple. And so if you're within that circle, you're pretty much invincible. And yeah, that's really friggin' OP. I want to see if she's able to use the Archangel form for other stuff, because again, I just think it looks friggin' dope. And that's the thing with Bofuri. It's the visuals are constantly having me kind of like whoa, that's really, really dope. And it's just a fun show to watch. With that said, everybody, I'm gonna wrap up my thoughts here. I would say that this is again another Orange Pico type of episode. When I watch Bofuri, I kind of just get what I want to get out of it. It's just a solid show every week, seems to be the same thing. I have a feeling like overall I would say that the episode, or that the series, is a lot more of a chamomile tea as opposed to an Orange Pico tea. The only reason I'm saying it's Orange Pico is because it's reliable, and every episode gives me that same sort of it's just a relaxing, fun show, and it's reliable. I can count on it every week to deliver something really fun. And with that said, that is a wrap on today's video, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then go ahead and hit that like button, maybe even consider sharing the video around on the internet, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to stick around and see more content from me. And if you do, be sure to click on that bell icon so that you'll know immediately when a new video of mine comes out. And if you want to go above and beyond, then consider checking out our Teespring store and grabbing yourself a mug, or checking out our Patreon page, which really helps support the channel. And speaking of our Patreon page, I want to give a big thank you to those of you who support the channel over on Patreon. Andrew W., Calvin A., Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G., Digger the Fox, Emily, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Marshall B., Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Stephen G., Sakochi, Tristan G., and Veridin. A huge thank you to all of you who support this channel over on Patreon, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the link in the description to check out our Patreon page and get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord for as little as $1 a month. And with all that said, I want to once again thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.